Go further with the American Express Business Gold Card. Earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels when you book through AmexTravel.com. Whether your destination is a business conference or a client meeting, your purchases will help you earn more points for future trips. Experience more on your travels with Amex Business Gold. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Well, hello, and welcome to Riffs on Riffs, where I am joined by a man who is the opposite of our song today. A man who is, I mean, I know you love your superhero stuff, but I don't know if you've ever considered the fact that you probably have superhero status. And
only to you, Joe. Thankfully. Only to you.
You're my hero. Did I ever
respectfully?
Did I ever say that you're my hero?
Oh, okay. See, look at
you're everything that I would like to be.
Oh my Lord.
No? Okay.
Riff Nation. Riff Nation, we want to welcome you to another installment of Riffs on Riffs. I'm Toby Braswell, and I'm here with my co-host, Joe Watson.
You're Toby the Greater, I'm Joe the Lesser, I think is how they do this in medieval times.
Man, I'm happy we're back in the studio. We took a little bit of a break, and we're back now.
Un peu, as they would say in France.
Un peu?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're back now, and we're going to do today what we always do. We're going to take a song, and a song that was popular on the charts, and we're going to break it down and talk about our opinions about that song. We like it, we don't like it, why do we like it, maybe get into social impact. And I think the beautiful thing about our show is the way that we can start on one subject and how we can go into something else. In particular, the songs that we pick a lot of times touch on personal moments in our life. And I think that makes a song stand out from the rest. So we don't just pick songs out of a hat, even though that would be fun.
It would be fun, actually. We should do that sometimes.
We could do that. But we pick songs strategically that touch us in one way or another. So, Joe, let's talk about the song that was picked for today's episode.
Well, it's a song that, as of recording today, has 530,700,677 streams on Spotify. It is currently sitting at number 1 on both the US and UK pop charts, Billboard Top 100. So number 1 song, it is a song called Ordinary by a gentleman by the name of Alex Warren. So let's start with a little bit of background on Alex. Born in September 18th, 2000, so just a few days away from you, Tobe, in Carlsbad, California, and kind of rose to prominence as a social media personality, which I think we'll get into is kind of that journey from social influencing to music and the validity of that path and whether that kind of impacts your credibility as a musician or not. Spoiler, I don't think it does at all. Kind of went through some stuff, which we'll also talk about. But before we get into all of that, tell me your initial thoughts on the song. Like, when you heard it, what'd you think?
Yeah, so there are certain groups and certain artists that remind me of each other.
For sure.
Not necessarily in like vocal chops per se, but just in like stylistically.
Vibe.
And yeah, a vibe. And, I looked up what the genre is that they're actually claiming this song, is, or what does Alex Warren do? And they said pop. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I got a bone to pick with that. But I don't know necessarily what to label it.
Yeah.
But it has a modern yet tribal feel to it. To me, that's where I'm getting it. And very similar to like an Imagine Dragon, where Imagine Dragons have a very tribal feel to them. I feel like this song, especially on the chorus, you feel like a whole congregation can be singing it together. And I have a lot of thoughts in regards to this, because anything, just because of the way that I was raised, especially, being very, very aligned with the church growing up, anything that has a lot of biblical references, a lot of times that will resonate with me one way or another. And so this track has a lot of biblical references
for sure.
To it. And I had to look at the lyrics and see, like, okay, is he talking to God, or is he talking to his wife? And then I found out that he's talking to his wife.
Yeah.
But this will be a song, mark my words, that modern churches across the country will change the words, remix the words, and actually be singing on Sunday Mass at a church near you. Guaranteed. It's right there. It's right there. It's like, so you it will happen, and it's good. It made me start thinking about other songs that were like that, but we can get into that later.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts about it?
I mean, it's interesting to me, the connection to Imagine Dragons definitely has that feel. Also has kind of, and it's funny because some of the critics, as they were, have referred to him as, or this song in particular, as hosier light. So I definitely get that sort of. It's adjacent. It has gospel vibes, sort of. It's gospel adjacent. And I think a lot of that is because, he grew up Catholic. He has espoused a love for worship music. So it's part of his DNA. I mean, you're 100% right. Guarantee you could walk into a church on any Sunday and hear a song that sounds like this. I'm not saying that whatever, but so it definitely has those vibes. Lyrically, of course, you get all of that, but it's one of those songs that it took me about 3 listens before I finally settled in and like felt it. And then once you talk about your E spot all the time, Tobe. So once it kind of hits there, I think what's interesting is you have songs that immediately hit you and you're like, I don't know why this resonates, but I just immediately feel it and connect to it and whatever. And then there are some songs that are like a slow burn, and then they kind of work their way in. And I felt like this was one of those songs. In fact, it wasn't until like a couple of days ago when I queued it up, and it was probably the 5th or 6th time I heard it, and I was like, oh, this is a good track. Like I get why this song is popular now. So I think that was my initial thoughts. I'm curious if you like the song. Let's start there.
Yeah, I do. I mean, there's nothing really to dislike about it per se. I mean, like it's fine. It's not something that I'm banging in my car or whatnot.
Right. Yeah.
But the one thing that I like about this, I always like it when we can kind of get into the mind of an artist, through their work. And I think you definitely are doing that in this song. If you just go through the lyrics, and I like it. I do like it. I like the lyrics more than the track itself.
Yeah.
I really like the chorus. I like the chorus a lot. I think that there's just the power of what sounds like an entire choir singing this, and not necessarily singing in harmony, but singing like, singing the same notes unison, and just like in unison. It's like, oh my God, like that's powerful. And then extracting that into into when he starts singing the verses. Yeah, and I can see the Hosier reference. I can definitely see that. I feel that, especially like the "Take Me to Church" song. I like that. That's biblical and ... A
little bit different from the thematically, but
sure.
But but for sure, yeah.
Yeah, but you still have biblical references. You still have what feels like a choir behind you. You still have a good vocalist, singing and doing his thing. And yeah, it's a pretty track, man. It's a pretty track. I do enjoy it. So.
It's interesting that you kind of said, I don't know what the words you used, but you weren't overwhelmed. You were kind of like, yeah, it's a good song. There's nothing wrong with it. And I think that's the response. There is the whole cadre of people that are like, this is an amazing song and I want to play it at my wedding, whatever, which is kind of funny too. And then there's the critics who are like, this is like, pop light. But I know And I think this is one of his aspirations is, man, if you put this on a Grammy stage with a full-fledged gospel choir, not doing unison, but doing harmony parts and like making it as epic as it could be, woo, that has the potential for goosebumps, I think.
Yeah, especially if he can really perform it. Because I think, again, I think Imagine Dragons is a similar situation. Like, okay, you heard the song Thunder or whatever single that they've made, you know, there's plenty of them. And that's one thing, but you actually see them perform and they're in it. They're in it. And I can't see that, you know, this dude, especially with the life events that he's had, you know, he is recently married, you know, so this song speaking directly to that, you know, the life events that he's had, and also being a YouTuber, right? And having to perform. This dude knows how to perform. He knows, and this is your shot. There's no way this dude is missing his opportunity to make this as large as it needs to be on stage.
Well, I believe that we are nigh on the 10th anniversary of Hamilton, so along those lines, he's not going to miss his shot.
No, he's not. He's not. But you know, I do want to talk about this. A little bit about his history.
Sure.
I mean, like, so, you know, my age, I'm not familiar with Hype House or anything affiliated with Hype House.
You weren't sitting around waiting for the next Hype House video to come out, Toad?
I'm like,
you weren't on the ticks and the talks? What?
Dude, it's crazy. I'm like, how did I miss all of this? Like, I missed every.
I don't think we're the target demographic.
Well, I'm glad that we're not, because it definitely was not a bullseye with me. It hit no part of me. Like, I didn't know who any of these people were. I'm looking at videos from 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did I missed all of this?
Now, does your son know who these cats are at all?
Yeah, Shiv might know. I'd have to ask him, but he's never mentioned it in conversation. Okay. But just a house full of creatives is fascinating to me. It's like
dangerous is what it is, Tope. It is a recipe for chaos and disaster, which I think ensued at some point. But yeah, it's like Big Brother, only, I don't know, worse.
Worser.
Yeah,
worser. Well, yeah, you got a house full of creatives. Everybody knows what they really want to get out of this. They want to be bigger. And there's, I mean, I don't know how they did it. I don't know if they had missions or seasons per se. Right. I mean, that's the one thing you could say about, like, when Real World came out, is like, they kind of had a plan. These kids are all going to be working toward this. You know, they had a direction. But you do something like this, it's like, dude, who's doing the next video? Who's going to come out with this? What are we going to do next time to get more? And it's that ecosystem is so fast.
It's fast. It's constant.
It's constant. And it's got to be, you know, so I think in anybody that does it for like 4 years, you've created that much content. Well, actually, I think with him, I think it was like 2 years he did it, because I think he got in 3 years. I think he got involved with that in 2019, I want to say 2019, and then left 2022.
I mean, he basically founded that, you know, he made enough money from his own stuff, founded that Hype House, and then, as probably no one saw coming, it didn't end well, and just eventually kind of went away. But well, let's back up a little bit into his family history, right? Which is not pleasant. Basically, his dad, I believe, I don't know if it was cancer or what, but he passed away at the age of kidney cancer. Yeah, passed away at the age of 9. And then, as sometimes happens, you know, his mother, widowed, turned to the bottle, didn't end well. I think he said something, you know, he knew there was a problem when he started noticing booze in her coffee cup. And it kind of sent her down a dark path. She became abusive. And, you know, by 18, he was kicked out of the house because, of course, he was the problem, right? We don't know how that goes. And ended up living.
And he was homeless.
And he was homeless, living in his car. And then, as abusive parents tend to be, you know, she's parading around town telling all the other parents what a horrible, despicable whatever he is. And so no other parent's going to bring him in. So it's like, okay, fine. Well, he can sleep in the car in the driveway, but, you know, he can't can't be part of this household. So, I mean, it's just a rough go. You know, you go from losing your dad, and I think one of the things he points to is his dad obviously knew that he was on borrowed time, and so he was recording all the life events, and so Alex was kind of from an early age constantly on camera, and so he just got used to that feel. And so I think that may be one of the weird things that kind of comes from this is like, I'm comfortable in front of this. Is not weird to me. I've been on a camera since, you know, I was 5 or whatever it is. Yeah, but that path from kind of, and by the way, he got accidentally shot in the lung, which is crazy. You know, imagine you're hanging out with a buddy at target practice and you take one through the chest. That's probably not it just doesn't. Yeah. So the guy's been through some stuff, right? But his ability to channel it into not only something positive, but recognizing that, hey, I want to channel this into doing something else with my life is pretty incredible.
Agreed. Changing those experiences and, you know, from words on paper or something that's just for you. Because if you think about all these personal experiences, I mean, for the people that have them, it's a very myopic type of thing, right? It happened to you. Right. It happened to you. Yeah. But then to be able to share it in artistic form, well, you know, to be that vulnerable and share it. And then for people, it's one thing in sharing it, but it's the other thing if people can actually feel it. Like that's different.
That's a good call. Because,
you know,
but I almost think that the sharing of it has to be with purpose and intention of moving people forward, as opposed to spewing. And I think this is what I've always admired about him. Always, like, I know this kid, right? He's 25. I don't have a long history with him, but in doing the research, recognizing that his intent is to have a voice, be a voice for others. It's not about, I'm sure he's processing his own stuff, but it's with a purpose and with a message. And I think that even goes back to, you know, that early, I mean, he's 11 when he starts doing all his YouTube stuff, and he's just another kid who's like, I want to do some, you know, computer assembly and jailbreaking phones and stuff like that. Right. And to have that be the initial starting point to, oh yeah, now I'm doing these sort of comedic bits on TikTok, and I've built a huge following, and now I've met some amazing woman over in Hawaii, and she's moving to California, and then they get married. Like, it's a crazy story, but it kind of speaks to the beauty of how humanity can connect despite all the crazy things that happen in between.
Well, it makes sense with his life being what it's been. I mean, it's an incredible story. There's no wonder why Netflix is going to be shooting a reality show around him going forward, right? I mean, it's something. Like, you've lived through it, and very similar to the feel of this song, it being churchy. He has a testimony, I feel like he has a testimony to be able to share. The other thing too that I thought was really interesting is that, his music influences. All right. So I'm reading this and I'm like, okay, now I'm officially old, right? I knew I was old, but now I'm officially old. When this young man has mentioned that Justin Bieber and Shawn Mendes were his inspirations,
right,
for his decision to become a musician, like, okay, buddy, like this is a okay boomer, but in reverse type situation, right? This is like, oh my God, Bieber. I mean, like, that's just crazy to me. And then he lists, Benson Boone as also listed as a person who's got a lot of influence, and it makes sense. Like, we're coming into. We've talked about it on shows before, and I mean, we actually had a call to action to male artists that were writers. We said, listen, dudes, gentlemen, the ladies are killing it right now. Yeah. They are killing it right now with their vulnerability, right? But they're killing it with their writing. We need gentlemen to step up and be brave enough to share. And we are getting gentlemen that are doing that.
For sure.
They are doing that.
He's talked about, his quote is basically, my songs address not only his, but for his audience, trauma that they've gone through and it's a healing weapon. And he literally calls his fan base the grief group. So it's this tapping into, quite honestly, probably a ginormous population that is feeling unseen and unheard, and giving them an actual literal voice with lyrics and music and resonance that they can tap into and share in that vulnerability and feel like, oh my God, I'm not alone. Somebody else is singing about this. It's hugely popular, and I can personally relate to that. That's got to be healing just in and of itself, which I think is fantastic.
You mentioned, you and I, we know each other pretty well, and I know that home life wasn't necessarily the best for you, wasn't the best experience growing up. And I'm curious, what you had just said about kids wanting to be seen, kids wanting to be heard. Yeah. And, coming from a situation like that, I know that probably touched you in listening to the song. Maybe it took, you mentioned it didn't hit you maybe the first time or not the second time, but by the third time it resonated with you. And I'm wondering if that was part of it.
What's interesting, and this just occurred to me right now, I wonder if the song didn't hit me until I started doing research on Alex, because part of growing up the way, I grew up in an abusive household. My mom was mentally ill, so I can relate to, while I don't know the specific circumstances, I understand I'm adjacent to whatever he went through, right? Like I get it. And it wasn't until I knew his story, because I think what happens when you grow up in those environments is you already feel different than everybody else, because you're looking around, your friends aren't living in cars. You're hearing stories, or you're going to school or whatever it is, and you're realizing that people are having very different experiences than what you are at home. And so you just feel kind of isolated. And so when that extends, I'm an old man, right? But when it extends into pop culture, I just kind of walk in with this idea that I'm different from everybody else, mostly. And so when you hear a pop song, for sure, you're just assuming like, okay, this doesn't relate to my experience, my life, or whatever. And so when I found out a little bit of his history, it gave me access maybe in a way that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And so I think that you brought up this idea of being seen. I would say that everybody, all humans want to be seen, and all of us struggle, I think, to a varying degree, because that's just the fate of humanity.
Oh, for sure.
But I do think that people who have been through abuse or trauma or whatever at an early age probably have that a little bit more kind of built in. And he kind of even talks about it when he's speaking to his imposter syndrome, when he was writing songs. And you think about his transition from social media influencer to musician. And he wanted to be a musician from the jump. He was 13, he was writing songs and whatever, but now he's become popular, not related to music. And so the general public is probably looking at this going, this guy's, it's interesting, because he did have, he made reference to a conversation with Logan Paul that kind of helped him. But it's almost that Logan Paul-esque thing where it's like, you're not a boxer, you're an influencer. You can't be legitimate because I've seen you on social media. That's how you've built your presence. And so I think it's part of that, working through that process of being legitimate and all of that. I see you have thoughts. Weigh in, Tobe.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've talked about it with other people, at times about evolution being a choice, right? Evolution being a choice, and people changing and from one thing to another. I personally feel that this time next year, 365 days from now, we should be happy about the transformation and the changes we've taken in the last year. That is the goal, right? That is the goal. And look, there are so many stories about people that have had one thing that they did pretty well, and use that as a launch pad to get into something else. Like, hey, Charles Barkley, you're not a commentator. You're a basketball player. Hey, volunteer person, there's no way you can be a politician, right? There's no way you just volunteer. That's all that you do, you know?
Hey, LeBron, you play basketball. Just, shut up and dribble.
What thoughts could you possibly have that would be relevant to what we're doing? It's just baffling to me that we throw shade on the person that has made an opportunity, has allowed themselves to evolve and be into something else. And we do it in video games all the time. In video games, we call it leveling up. We do it all the time, right? We do it all the time. We learn the skills, whether you're playing D&D or whether you're playing some video game, we learn skills to help us get better. And then with each level comes more equipment, whether it be armor or weaponry or whatever.
Skills, knowledge, whatever.
Yeah. So how dare someone say like, hey, dude, how is this social media stuff transition you into a career of music? Like everybody's path is different, man. Everybody's path is different.
And it's we don't want to put baby in a corner, but we want to put our artists in a corner or in a box. And it's funny because you would text me, or in the last week we had a whole exchange on Sammy Davis Jr. And good Lord, the amount of talent baked into one human. And imagine if we had just shut that down and been like, oh, Sammy, you're a comic figure. You can only play this instrument. You can only whatever. Like, you are missing on so much richness. Imagine if we had done that back to Da Vinci. Like, oh, sorry, buddy. You're a good painter, but don't try that sculptor. Don't try that invention stuff. Don't try building, like what? So I think it's easy for public consumption to just say, oh, I know you because you're in this lane. And it's really uncomfortable for people to kind of process this idea of like, well, wait, you can do that too. And you're actually really good at it. And I enjoy it. And I hope that we can almost get back to that. I almost feel like it was easier back in the day to be multifaceted and multi-talented, and it was celebrated. Versus now, it's like, how dare you? You're appropriating whatever, whether it be culture or a talent or whatever it is, and it bums me out.
Well, I think one of the reasons for that is, of course, this kid, just like plenty of other people, that start off in social media. I mean, everybody that starts off in social media, everybody has a podcast or a book or whatever, and they want to push it on social media. And when you do that, you have to follow certain rules. And the rules keep you within a box because it has to work with the algorithm that's there. How dare Toby talk about music and pop charts and talk about human rights? You can't do that because you're going to jack up the algorithm. You can't, you have to stick to that core. And because of that, now you only seem, one dimensional. And now because of that, we're only getting part of the story and not the full thing. And just like how you said, man, you started to really dig this kid once you did research.
Once I knew his story. Yeah.
And that's the difference between back in the day and now.
Yeah,
I feel.
Yeah.
Like when you bought the album, you opened it up, you got to read all the lyrics, you check out the album cover, the art, who are the artists that worked on this. You found a little bit about his history. We'd hear interviews, right?
You get a magazine that would show up once a month and
all of that.
Yeah.
All of that. And now it's different. Everything is so microwave, like hear this right now, just a song, 20 seconds, boom, go, So
well, he even talks about working with the algorithms. He's constantly checking where are things at, how do I, So I think it's these kids that are growing up as digital natives, right? If they grow up in their first exposure, this is interesting. We grew up, we would hear songs, and we would be like, "Wow, that hits me. I want to sing like that. I want to play like that. I want to learn how to do that. Whatever." I think the exposure now for kids is not, I want to learn that craft. It's, I want to be that person. So we've inverted it from this thing that was a very personal experience of how music hits you or how a performance hits you or whatever, it's now, how does this human hit me? Oh, I really like how they're funny they are on their YouTube channel. Oh, I think that, their quirky little thing or their shtick or whatever, it really resonates with me. So it's not talent first, it's personality first, which is very different than it was, 20 years ago even. And that's not to say that these kids don't have talent. Of course they have talent, but that's not how they first get exposed to the game, which is way different than back in the day.
That's interesting. That's interesting. That's an interesting point. That has a very interesting point. Kind of reminds me of dating, right? Like, hey, you talk to the girl because she was beautiful, right? Or depending on how you met this particular person. Yeah. Like if you met her at the gym, well, you know that she cares about being physically fit. If you met her in choir, well, then you know that she actually likes to sing. If you met her at the comic book shop, well, you know that she likes good art and good. So that's how the relationship starts, right? But what's shared later on is like, oh, I didn't like you. I didn't know you liked anime too. Or, hey, I didn't know that, you're actually good with cars. And, hey, I didn't know that you ride motorcycles or any of that other stuff. I mean, people are complex. Everything is so nuanced. And I think sometimes was because of social media, I think we don't treat people like the books they are. We are just reading the cover flaps, the back cover, the front cover and the back cover, and just expecting like, hey, we know them. Like, no, you don't. Dude, there's a whole bunch of chapters. You freaking skip. And this is just volume 1. This is volume 1 of book, I don't know.
I think what's interesting is we know less about people now, even though we can see them 24/7. So we don't get the richness of who they are. To your point, the volumes and the chapters and everything. It's because, unfortunately, a lot of it probably has to be created. Like, I got to do content today. I got to do content 3 times today. I've got to come up with something interesting today. Like, no wonder these kids are exhausted. I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
If you think about it, podcasters that are really, really popular, right? Motivational speakers that are really, really popular, do podcastings like that, politicians, artists, these cats are on all the time.
All the time. Yeah. Yep.
When do they actually get a break? So as much as you think you might actually really, really like them. You might actually really, really like them, but it's nice. I love having what I like to call like just real conversations, right? When we get to, just get into that like a deep conversation with someone where it's like, okay, hey, dude, forget the cameras, forget everything. Let's just talk. Like let's just do this. I love having those. And whenever I can get a conversation like that where people can kind of forget what's around them and just be real. Yeah. That's what I love. I'll pay for that conversation. Like I will literally I'll pay for that,
So I'm curious because I just, I know you obviously work for an insurance company. So I just had a conversation with somebody this weekend that, long story short, they put tech in cars to kind of track people. And what they were saying is it's amazing how quickly people forget that they're on camera. And the amazing things that you can see people doing in cars, right? 'Cause I'm sure you can relate to this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. For sure. Dude, listen, you add that with the fact that I'm in, my major in college was criminology, right? And we talk about norms and behavior that is outside of the norms. I mean, so all of this to say that, my patience or tolerance, I would say, of people, like my expectations, let's not say tolerance, it's not the right word, but my expectations of people are all over the place. It's like, I don't put it past anyone given a certain list of conditions. Once those conditions are met, then boom, you've got a problem. You are gonna have a problem. So it's crazy. it's insane. It's insane.
All right, well, let's get back to this song a little bit. So Ordinary, he wrote it about his wife, who, fellow social star, Kuva Anand. I mean, they were so powerfully connected that they, I think they met on one of the social platforms, and then
Snapchat.
Was Snapchat, and then she ended up moving over, and they were living in a car together for a while, and I mean,
that's some love.
That's some serious love right there.
That's some love.
And if you seen the video for this?
I have not.
Let me sum it up for you, because it's not anything, like, you don't need to see the video necessarily. I mean, it's a fine video, but essentially he starts in a laundromat and he's looking at her doing laundry, and then he has a moment of like, oh my God, this is ordinary, but it's amazing. And then, he goes over to her, picks up a sock or something, and then all of a sudden they're on a beach somewhere, on a mountain somewhere, a desert somewhere, and then eventually they end the video, flying away like angels. So it's this idea of, the ordinary is extraordinary and angelic and biblical and all of those things, transformational. But what's interesting is, he talked about this song, and by this time he had signed with, I'm totally going to get this record company wrong. I don't remember which one it was. So apologies, record company, because I'm sure you're going to come down on me. But he signed with them specifically because when he started to blow up, everybody comes calling, and then everybody's kind of blowing the smoke and saying, you're amazing, you're amazing. And so it might have been Arista. I hope so. I know it began with an A. Mm-hmm. So, and they were the first label to basically say, yeah, this is great. It's good. It's not great because you need to do X, Y, and Z. And he was like, perfect. Sign me up. I needed somebody to give me honest feedback and not just tell me that I'm awesome. And so I want to work with people that are going to make me better. And so he kind of developed this strong relationship with the label, but then he kind of pushed them because he's like, I really want this to be a single. And they were like, and so this is what you do when you're a social influencer, is you just kind of leak it out. You throw it on the TikToks and the talks, and then people responded incredibly. And all of a sudden label's like, okay, you were right. Let's put this out. Right. So it kind of gets back to what, T-Pain did back in the day. It's like, I'm going to take control of my own destiny. I believe so strongly in this art. And I think the other cool thing is, and I know you and I have had this experience, when he finished the track, he and his wife sat in the car or something, and they listened to this for 40 minutes straight, just on loop, right? Like, when you hit that song, you're like, oh, this is a good song. And you just want to get all the nuances. And then you start picking it apart and saying, what don't I like and what would I change and whatever. And he's like, we couldn't find anything. This is great.
Oh, that's great.
I just love that they took ownership of this and said, let's push it out there.
That's fantastic. It's a great story, and it's a great song, man. It's a great song. I can understand why it's as popular as it is. And here's the other thing too, I'm happy that songs like this are being made and songs like this are actually popular. Like I'm happy about that. Like I mentioned earlier in this podcast, like, hey, it's like, yeah, this song is cool for me. It's cool, but I'm happy that if we're going to have a popular song, it's going to be number one, it's going to be charting. Make it songs like this. Every once in a while, I have a couple songs like this. This sounds like this is a good love song. It's a good love track.
For sure.
So,
the other, and I think this speaks to the kind of the socials merging everywhere, is apparently, I didn't even know this, Toe. Apparently there's a book talk, which I assume is about books. I'm not familiar.
I hope so.
But I'm going to guess that it is. But
if it's not a book talk, it better be about books.
It needs a new name, right? If it's not. So this was the unofficial love song for, now Toby, I gotta walk you through this. So that I play D&D, right?
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, my brother would sneak home Piers Anthony books, and I wasn't allowed to read them because they were evil or something, but I would read them. Shh, don't tell anybody. And I have no idea if Piers Anthony books are any good at all, because I was probably like, 11 or 12 when I was reading these. But it did get me kind of into this idea of fantasy fiction. And so
Right.
I was asking some of the one of the women that plays with us is a huge literature fan and writer and all of that. And I was like, hey, what are you reading? Like what? And she's like, oh, this book called Fourth Wing. It's a whole series by Rebecca Yarros. And I was like, okay. And so I picked it up and I listened to it on Audible, and it's good. I don't think I'm the target audience because it just spends way too much time in the romance, like the over
Sure.
like, and it's
Sure.
just retreading,
Sure.
right? And I'm like, can we just
course.
move this along, right? But
Right.
conceptually, the book itself and the whatever is. But apparently, this song "Ordinary" is the unofficial love song of Fourth Wing, that whole series. So this idea that people in whole different sectors, like book talk, reading books, whatever, and then they're like, hey, we're going to adopt this song as the theme song for this other piece of fiction. Like, I just think these communities that are being formed are pretty amazing, right? Isn't that so cool?
That. I think that's absolutely amazing. I think that's absolutely amazing. I love that. For a book to adopt, or a book series to adopt a song, I've never heard of that, ever.
Right. That's so cool.
Never heard of that. It is cool. That is cool. What would be really cool, though, is if you bought the Kindle version of it, and while reading it, it just plays.
It just plays in the background whenever one of the 7 million love scenes are playing. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. Every chapter, you get another, another verse. This is wonderful. This is great.
So it's interesting, too, because he's gotten, of course, everybody's got an opinion. He's been very clear. He's like, I grew up Catholic. I write with biblical, I bring my spirituality into my music. And...
Right.
Of course, people take this song "Ordinary" and they're like, "Oh, well, you are worshiping your wife when you should be worshiping Jesus," and kind of twisting it around and whatever, right? Because we all have to do that. And
Sure.
I don't know. I just clearly I have my own opinions on that, but I wonder if you want to weigh in on that at all.
So many there's worse things to worship. Look, people are going to continue to do that. They're going to be doing that.
You got to pick apart something.
For forever. And if that's the worst thing, we have problems. We have problems with people not loving their spouses enough, and we're just going to pick
right,
the opposite.
How
of that.
dare you actually like your spouse?
Let's stop that. Let's just stop.
It's a really good point.
Not that serious. Yeah. So, yeah, I liked it. I also got into, because I had to really look at hearing the song for the first time. I really had to look at the lyrics, like, who was he writing this song for, to, whatever. And it sounds, like I said, really like a religious song. And then I got in this, riffed on, because there's a recent phenomenon where religious songs are actually being remade into popular songs, or popular songs are actually being remade into Christian songs.
Yeah.
And then there's also a lot of the hip hop stars right now, where some of the hip hop stars, they've been raised on music by Black Christian artists. You have Al Green. Al Green he has a lot of secular albums, but he does have a Christian music, discography. He does have that.
I just want to pause there, and I want everybody to think about that for a second. Even the Christians are getting busy, people. So stop being weird about it.
Listen, Philip Bailey from Earth, Wind and Fire has Christian music, and groups like the Winans, whether it's the main group or BB and CC, that music is being sampled now for secular songs. So what does that tell you? Well, at least the producers were listening to this type of music, and more likely were raised on that music. And they're maybe not in message, but at least in tonality, right? At least that they are wanting to connect with their audience, right? At least in that way. It's like, man, there's an artist called Crit, or Big Crit, Krit, and he's got a song called Crit Here. and I not a Crit fan, but I liked the song. I was like, man, what is this song? This song's all right. I like this song. And then I'm hearing it, and I heard it right after I listened to Ordinary, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. What? And he sampled a Whining song. I was like, yes, that's it. I knew it was a Whining song, and it's just interesting, man. Just full circle stuff, because the Winans were criticized heavily for making their Christian music very secular, like the instruments they use, the everything. It's just a big circle,
It is. I mean, and you go back to the day when artists like Amy Grant, when they were like, oh, wait a minute, I mean, it's just, oh wait, you're Christian and you're human. That's weird. Like you're supposed to be. We already canonized you like 10 years ago. You can't be just living a normal life like the rest of us. That's not okay. Yeah.
Amy Graham was like, hey, I just want to let everybody know that Christians can call their lovers baby too. Baby. they could do that too. We use that word, baby, from time to time. It's silly stuff, man.
It's silly stuff. But what I'm here for is if we get more gospel choirs in pop music, I'm in. I'm in.
Listen, I'm so glad that you mentioned. So there are there's one gospel choir. I don't know the name of the group, but I've seen them on social. And what they'll do is they'll take I don't know if they're a gospel choir. I would say that they're a choir, right? They're a choir that has a gospel type stylings that will sing a rap song, will sing all the words to a rap song, but they'll do it in harmonies and this, that, and the third. I mean, they do a fantastic job, but it's, man, I'll have to find them.
All right, we'll post a link on the episode.
Find them and share too. Yeah, it's pretty entertaining.
That's awesome
to watch. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right, well, I think we've run to the end of this episode. Hopefully, it was not ordinary for our listeners. Hopefully, it got into the extraordinary territory.
There we go.
Stay tuned, everyone. I think we're gonna be exploring some ways to kind of just add on to the show, improve the show, make it maybe. I don't want to tee this up too soon, but I'm gonna maybe even we'll start incorporating music back into it. We're pondering all the legal ramifications and consulting with our attorneys to see if we can pull that off. But I know that's one of the things that our audience has specifically said, like, man, it'd be great if we could hear the tracks. And we wholeheartly agree. So hopefully we can make that happen.
We want to do everything we can. I'm really hoping that listeners of the show are getting, with every show, you're getting a new perspective on how to look at the song. And I'm hoping, our job is always to, of course, we want to be entertaining, but we also want to educate whenever we can, whether it's the history of this artist or what have you, the purpose of the music, maybe, different perspectives in regards to the lyrics or music history. So we want to educate as well. So I think adding sounds, adding music back to the show can further that education, so yeah, that's something we're working on right now. So, hey, we appreciate everyone that's been listening to us all of these years. Hey, Riffs on Riffs ain't going nowhere. We're here. We're back. We're doing our thing. We love you and appreciate you. And if you like this, and if you're listening on your iPhones, hey, please like, subscribe, all of the things.
Hit all the buttons. Do the mashing of the things. Whatever. Leave us reviews.
Please do.
Yeah. All right, Tobe, I'm going to hit him with the dismount. So sorry, I'm going to usurp this from you today. So
do it.
Thanks, Riff Nation. Keep listening. Huzzah!
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contracts. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan. $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.